Hello, this is Nathaniel Gage, and this is my discussion post for week 8 on the Marsden Review. The Outrageous Idea of Christian Scholarship by George Marsden is a book which questions why Christian scholarship is almost always met with either hostility or indifference. The author then goes on to address that question and offers suggestions as to what can be done about the issue. Many of the arguments presented in this book are logical and well thought out. For instance, Marsden suggests that the general reluctance of the institutes of higher learning to accept Christian perspectives is due largely to past experiences in which Christianity was the driving force not only in the academy, but also in the country as a whole. Many associate Christianity with the poor treatment and marginalization of certain people groups, and fear a return to that state should Christian perspectives be allowed any influence. Another common argument seems to be that Christian perspectives would simply not make any difference. Although Marsden points out the need for a community to foster Christian scholarship and chips away at many of the reasons people have not to accept it, he does not add much to how Christians and their faith and scholarship would make a return to academic center stage. There's also a long and rich history of Christianity's effects on higher education, which were left mostly unaddressed. Admittedly, that discussion might not have been within the framework of this book, but it might still have added some credence to the author's arguments, especially to those not of the Christian faith. Mentioning that some famous colleges were once Christian schools might have been beneficial. For example, Glenn A. Huff mentions that Madison had studied philosophy, law, Latin, Greek, and Hebrew at Princeton, and he later served as a rector of the University of Virginia. He was a Christian scholar. Although many academics likely already know of the Christian heritage of many colleges, a reminder would not be harmful. Marsden also notes, with some confusion, that many Christian scholars seem to have accepted the situation as is without trying to change it. This may be true to some degree, but also seems like an oversimplification of an extremely complex issue. Strangely, Marsden seems to show a duality of thought on some issues. He obviously is concerned about the state of things, but his suggestions are not very novel, although they are logical. For instance, he suggests making more use of pre-existing Christian academic networks. As Douglas Jacobson puts it, how do we and how should we define Christian scholarship today? In that task, we are not starting from scratch. Various models of Christian scholarship already exist. Clearly, the idea of making use of already established networks is not new, although Marsden does not necessarily add much to that idea. It is still a good suggestion and an idea which should receive more focus. Overall, Marsden makes some helpful suggestions and points out existing and potential problems, but he does not suggest anything that has not already been thought of. He makes his concern clear, but he does not seem too invested in coming up with a solution. He seems content for Christian scholarship to simply be given some attention without making any real changes. Although Marsden does make a good point when he says the following. Like the student radicals of the 1960s, who are now tenured professors, these young people may be the harbingers of a change in American academics that will come to fruition in the next generation. Well, that would certainly be good news. How will it happen if the same strategies are being used by Christian scholars, which have only produced minor results so far. How can things change if the current generation does not guide young Christians into positions where they can affect change? Thank you.